Today is about exponential growth word problems. You deposit $200 into a bank account. Every year, that account increases by 12%. So remember, exponential functions are y equals a times b to the x power, where a is the initial amount and b is the growth rate. Okay, so the initial amount is how much he started with in his account, 200. The growth factor is how much it's increasing every year. So 200, 12% of 200. Well, in order to find 12% of 200, I need to turn the 12% into a decimal. So I can do 12 divided by 100% is 0.12. I could also do that by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So the decimal is here, move it twice to the left, and now the new decimal is there. So 12% as a decimal is 0.12. So if I take 200 and multiply that by 0.12, that's only $24. So that's not an increase. So he's not actually getting just 12% of the 200. He's keeping that 200 and he's increasing it. So the formula to find the growth factor is 1 plus the growth, the amount that it increases by, and that's how you get the growth rate. Okay, so here, the amount that it increases by in this case is 0.12. So I'm going to do 1 plus 0.12, and that's how I get 1.12. So some of you might want to know, why is the 1 there? What's the purpose of the 1? So I'll go ahead and explain that. For those of you who want to know why, I'll go ahead and explain it. But remember, this is a formula. 1 plus the increased amount, that gives you the growth rate. So the reason why the 1 is there, because like I showed you before, 12% of 200 is only 24. So basically, we're going to think in terms of percentages. He's going to keep 100% of what he put into the bank. He's going to add to that 12% more. So essentially, he's going to get 112%. Okay? So now we're going to turn these numbers into decimals. 100% as a decimal, if I move it over twice, that's 1. 12% as a decimal, if I move this over twice, it's 0.12. 112 as a decimal, move it over twice, is 1.12. That's where that number comes from. So that's the why we use this formula. That's where that formula comes from. So the equation is y equals the initial amount times the growth rate to the x power. So my initial amount is 200. My growth rate is 1.12 to the x power. That's the equation. Okay, another example. The population of Johnson City is 25,000. The city has a growth rate of 3.12% each year. The initial amount, 25,000. The growth factor, that's where we're going to have to use this formula. 1 plus the increasing amount equals the growth rate. So again, 3.2% divided by 100% equals 0.032. Again, you could also move the decimal twice to the left. 1, 2. Fill that with a 0. Okay, so my growth rate is 1.032. So my equation is y equals 25,000 times 1.032 to the x power.